Hey, what's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. In this video I'll be showing you how to mask using channels. It's a little bit more complicated, but you can get really nice and crisp results. So the way you're going to do this is select one of your images or the image you want to mask. In this case I have this image here, and right under I have this image. And I'm using the same images from my previous videos where I covered how to mask using selection tools, so if you want to check it out you can. But anyway, so I have these two layers here. Let me just select this layer and go to and switch to my channels. So I have 4 different channels, and the basic idea is, let me just delete this one. And the basic idea is to pick a channel that has the most contrast, and with whatever you try to mask, and duplicate the channel. Play around with the masking tools or the levels and curves to get the contrast going. And then pretty much after that is just mask out the part that you don't want. So if I go back to my layers, in this case, let me switch back to RGB. So what I want to keep and what I don't want to keep is the blue. So I want to mask out as much as blue as possible, and I want to keep the orange in the purple or the purple red color. So we're going to try to achieve that using channels. So if you select your layer, go to channels, let's see which one gives us the most contrast. So this one looks like it gives us the most contrast for orange and the purple reddish color. So this and this right here. So now what we can do is duplicate, and on the bottom here, as you can see, there's a little icon here for duplicating channel, or you can just right click on the red and do duplicate channel and just click red copy. It's going to give you the standard name, so just click OK. So now you have 5 channels, and this one is only the red channel, and it's not destructive. It's not going to destroy your images because you already have the RGB red, green, and blue channels. This is just a copy of the red channel. So from here, what we want to do is bump the contrast as much as possible to have these two objects, the orange and the purple, almost black or almost white, because we can always invert the mask. So in this case you can just do Command L, which will bring up levels, and you can play around with the contrast. So as you can see, we're already getting a nice result here. Let me just try to move this out of the way. As you can see, with the one drag of black to the left, which was something like this, I got a perfect mask out of this. So as you can see, we got all the orange here, and we got rid of most of the black. And let me just bump this up as much as possible. That's my whites. So maybe like something like this, and bring it down just a bit, and then play around with this midtones. That looks pretty good. And also you can use the eyedropper tools to subtract or add to your selection. So let me just try to add here. As you can see, it brings in the whites that were missing before, and also subtract the blacks. And as you can see, we're getting a nice mask out of that. So from here, what you can do is make a selection. So if you just let's see, you can click this button here, which makes the selections for you. Or I think if you hold Option or Command, yeah, I think it's Command. If you do Command and click on the red channel, copy, it will select all the whites that you masked out. And now you can go back to your layers and just click the mask button, and it will mask out all the stuff that you kept or subtracted in your channel. So as you can see, we're getting a nice mask using channels, and it's really cool. Sometimes you get a nice result, sometimes you don't, but you have to try it out. This tool or this method is not gonna mask perfect for each scenario, but in some cases it does, in some cases it doesn't. So let me just undo. So the basic idea, hopefully you understand, is to copy one of the channels. Just subtract RGB here. Is to select one of the channels and play around with the contrast, and then duplicate it. Just hide all these, and then play around with your levels to get a nice mask out of that channel. So let me just delete this channel, and then I'm going to do it again, but same thing on a different image. Maybe to give you another example. So go back to my layers, and this time I'll switch the images. So I'll put this one on top, and this one's going to be on the bottom. And in this case, let's try to mask out the background and keep the character as much as possible. So let's go to our channel, select your layer, go to the channels, and let's see which channel gives us the most contrast. I think this one does a pretty good job. So let's duplicate the green channel, duplicate, click OK, and select this channel and deselect all the other channels. So now what you can do curves or you can do levels. So if you do Command L, it brings up levels, or you can do layer or image adjustment, and you can do curves, which is Command M. So it's up to you which one you want to do. So let's do curves for this one. So select your copied channel and do Command M. Brings up the curves, and let's just make a few handles in here and play around with the contrast. So as you can see, we're getting the character right in there. That looks pretty cool. So we're getting a nice bump of black and white. That's all about the contrast when it comes to masking using channels. And now we can do Command L and play around with the levels as well. So using the eyedropper, let's add our whites. So we want to keep all these. Just keep clicking all the white stuff. And the blacks, try to subtract as much as possible. And also everything else that you don't want, like all these white dots on the background, what you can do is click B button and make your brush bigger. Make sure it's set on black and just paint it out. Because we're pretty much making a mask, you're not destroying anything. So you can just paint all the stuff that you don't want out. So you have something like this. And now all we have to do is make the same selection. Click this button or click Option, Command, and then click on the layer or the channel that you copied. So we make the selection. And now we go back to our layer, click on the mask. As you can see, this is what we got out of that mask. So in this case, it's not the best option. But what we can do, if you want to keep most of this stuff, is go back to your channel. And instead of painting black, you can paint with white. So you can just carefully paint all the whites as much as possible and keep all the detail. So something like this, for example, and then make the same selection, go back to your layers, and you get something like this. But the big thing, we're getting those nice details back. So in this case, it's a little bit more complicated. Obviously, if you have a drawing tablet, it would be much easier to mask and draw in all the details. So in your channel, just activate this one. And yeah. So in this case, you would paint all the detail in as much as possible using black and white. So if you don't want this, you would paint it out. If you do want it, and I would suggest using, I kind of did it quick, but I would suggest using the soft brush and try to soft this edge out, something like this. And it's a mask, we can always add it later. So now let's make the same selection, go back to our layer, and delete this mask. Delete. And add the other mask in. As you can see, we're getting a nice little mask going. And this object was a little more complicated, but if you spend the time and play around and paint your own mask inside the channel, the results you get would be amazing. And then from here you can obviously change different blending modes and get a nice result from there. Anyway guys, that's pretty much how you mask using channels. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but you just have to give it a try and see what works for you. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you learned something from this video, and as always, have a nice day, and I will see you in my next video, guys. Goodbye.